Hello and welcome to week 8 of the FUT Weekly podcast. It is a much later in the week recording than we normally do because we are recording just after all that World Cup content has dropped on Friday. It's probably the first time pretty much that we've done this, so that makes it extra exciting, but also potentially unpredictable, perhaps a bit random. We'll see what happens for the next 40 minutes or so. I have with me, as I so often do, AirJapes. Thanks for coming along for this.
Happy to be here, Ben, and getting ready to open up my icon pack, which should be sweet. Or not my icon, my hero.
Yeah,
pack.
I was going to say, yeah.
I haven't done the most recent hero upgrade, but the last time I did a hero upgrade, I got Peter Crouch. So hopefully lightning doesn't strike twice.
I think he's pretty much the only really bad one, I feel like. And even he, people say is good. So
I think Campos is probably a little questionable.
I don't think he's in the pool, actually, so you'll do better than him for sure. We should introduce our next guest, though, and that is Richard Buckley, a regular around these parts, or used to be. You've been busy, haven't you, over the last few weeks?
Yeah, when the podcast is typically recorded on a Monday, Tuesday, I've been down in London for the EA Sports Cup, so it's nice to be back on. When you said, I've had a few people actually come on and into when I've been streaming or sending me a message on Twitter saying, how come I've not... Did we have a fallout? Was there an issue?
Yeah, we probably just said that.
Yeah, and I was just like, no, I just... timings haven't lined up, but no, it's nice to be back on. And I sort of needed this podcast because there is a lot of content that's just released and I need someone to explain it to me.
Yeah, which is good because just before the podcast, I learned from our next guest here that he actually seems to be quite across it, which is impressive. We have with us SpreadsheetFIFA, aka Josh. Do you have a spreadsheet going? Is that why?
No, I don't actually. I've literally just flicked through as many menus as I can as quickly as possible and just tried to, sponge all the information in really. So I'm sure there'll be things that we've missed, but I think we've got a fairly good handle. I think if we go place by place, we might end up covering everything.
Yeah, we're going to start because I know Japes is itching to get his pack open with the World Cup Hero Pack. Japes, would you like to take it away and open it? And hope everyone had some decent luck with these. Apologies if you did get Crouch.
All right, I'm gonna open it now, and then I'm not gonna make a peep.
Okay.
And let everyone take a guess at who I got. Guess away.
Do you want to go first, Richard? Who are you going to guess?
I think Japes got 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘦.
Okay. And what about you, Josh? Who are you going to go for?
I'm going to go with Marquez.
I'm going to be really cynical here and go for Crouch. Do you want to give the nation? We might know straight away from the nation.
Well, I think this is going to be easy. The nation is the Netherlands.
Count?
Dirk-Kuyt.
Oh, okay.
That's solid. I'd say that. What league is he from?
He's Premier League, and he has preferred position right mid, and then as well CM and Cam. So as a box-to-box mid and a 3-man midfield or something, he looks
I think he does
really quite good. High work rates as well. I'm into it.
I like that.
Not bad. Yeah, take that, and I'll do mine. Okay. Do we want to guess? James, you go first.
𝘵𝑗𝑒𝑚 or whatever. I can't say his name.
No. Josh, what about you?
I'm going to go with Thanos himself and go Brolin.
That was it. It was Brolin.
I was literally going to say
So jealous. I am so jealous. Brolin's normal hero card is insane.
He does look very good. And you've been hyping him up, so I'm very much looking forward to giving him a go.
I am so jealous right now. Ben, that's a huge dub.
Yeah.
It's a huge dub.
I'm definitely taking that. Got quite a few Serie A players untradeable as well. Got the Barella, which you've been hyping up, Japes. The inform, very, very good. And Savage, inform. Obviously, they're not too dissimilar to their base cards, but they are very good. So, yeah. I think Josh and Richard, either you've opened yours or you can't because there's too many players in the way, or too many packs in the way.
Yeah, too much saved up right now.
I'll be saving mine till later this evening.
You've got a stream, haven't you?
I'll be back probably next week when I say I got 𝘵𝘂, so that's
exactly. Nice. Well, that does wrap up the hero
I'm salty
pack.
now.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say yours was decent, but
I don't know. I think 𝘬𝘁 will be one of the cheaper ones, but looking across the board at all the possibilities, 𝘬𝘁 is quite good for my team, but sad for my brain.
Yeah, a little bit. Anyway, a nice intro, at least for me. We'll get into talking about what other content is out there. So just to kind of summarize, we've got Path to Glory, which is, if people know, the Euros Path to Glory is quite similar. But we do now have confirmation, we had it a few days ago, of how the upgrade pathway works. At launch, they obviously get a boost. And then when they qualify from the group stages, they get a +1. when they win the round of 16, they get another +1. And I say +1, if they're an 84, they go to an 86, but above an 85, it'll just be a +1 on their overall. So win round of 16, +1, win quarterfinals is a 5-star weak foot upgrade, win semi-finals is a 5-star skill move upgrade, and then win the final, they'll get a +1 inform upgrade and 3 new traits, which is something we've never seen before.
Oh.
I'm not sure there are that many useful traits apart from finesse shot and outside foot shot, at least on outfield players. I suppose it's a nice thing. Maybe they'll bring in more traits in the future, unless anyone can think of some now. But in terms of the squad, I think it's a good way to upgrade players. There aren't huge stat boosts because it's only +3 overall ratings, but the skill moves and weak foot I think will be very good. I was looking at Lukaku. Imagine he gets to the semi-finals, he'll get 5-star, 5-star.
There are a lot of cards in this that feel like if they get anywhere close to, far through the competition, they're going to end up ridiculous. I'm especially looking at the cards like that Vinicius Jr., for example, who's already got 5-star skill moves. And so one of those upgrades that would be to 5-star skill moves will be just an inform upgrade. He's going to end up being, if Brazil do well, getting into the 90s, 5-5 with 3 extra traits. However, that's, long throw. It's kind of one of those things where it's going to create a couple of team of the year level cards really, really early in the game cycle. Now, it's not too far before Team of the Year, so I kind of like it. And because it's so concentrated to just the nations that get quite far, I think it will be an interesting thing to watch how it develops. And I don't think it's going to necessarily change the power curve too much. But I love a card, for example, who's the Danish guy? Delaney, who's been chosen for the Path to Glory. I think Denmark have got a good chance of getting at least to the quarterfinals. I think they're a really good team. And you look at what his card could end up looking like. He could be like a Club 80 DM from La Liga, and you start going through the different options, the different cards. I really like the team. I don't think it's too good that, I think everyone's looking at every card and going, yeah, if they get to the final, this is what it's going to be. And there are a few cards you can do that with, the Brazilian and Argentinian cards being the prime ones amongst them. But I think they're beginning to open up some options into other leagues. That's just really exciting, really exciting.
Yeah, there are some good players in terms of the boost they've given. Like 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘦 has 88 pace, which obviously makes quite a big difference for a card like that. So there have been some good, well-placed boosts, but none of these are like truly crazy, and I guess the ones that will be truly crazy are going to be very expensive, and Vinicius, is very expensive, or at the moment obviously he's just come out, but many millions of coins, so makes sense. 𝗵𝘀, you got your man Griezmann in there, there's Bernardo Silva, I know you've been a fan of in the past.
Yeah, a lot of good looking cards in there. I'm gonna have to spend some time going through and picking out which ones I think are kind of spicy, kind of not. Yeah. I just packed Milik as well, so he could definitely go for some boost there.
Yeah, I was going to say
no question about that. But
with these players getting a 5-star weak foot if they get to the quarters, that's not that hard, you'd think, for France or teams like that. So a 5-star weak foot upgrade for Griezmann would obviously make such a big difference. So that's nice.
He'd be nutty.
Yeah, and Richard, what about you in terms of the Path to Glory squad? Any particular players you'd like to give a mention to?
I'm liking the look of Jack Grealish so far. I think
he's 3-star weak foot, isn't he? So
3-star weak foot, 4-star skills, but has the ability, I believe, to go into cam as well. So I think there's a lot of positives with him. Surprised that they got a double Man City edition.
But Bernardo's in there as well, isn't he? But I guess it's league, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
It's more about the nation than the club, isn't it?
2 Real Madrid players, 2 Bayern Munich players. So it's nice that they've sort of doubled up with a lot of those 2 Barca players as well, Araujo and Frenkie de Jong. So I think it's also sort of, even though we said it opens up a lot of other leagues with the players that could be getting upgraded, it also, I think it's pulling you into some of those more used leagues, shall we say, just because of the players that are in there. Koulibaly looks incredible, and even just a couple of inform upgrades on him, he's looking definitely probably the best centre-back in the Premier League. Already, we're 36 minutes after the promos come out, and he's only 250,000 coins. I think that's an incredible price for him.
Yeah, I was going to also point out 𝘂𝘃𝘀𝘀 is actually the objective player, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's currently lengthy, right? As default, as objective player, but he has 81 agility and 96 strength. So he's actually got quite high agility for someone who is lengthy. He's obviously 6'3", we know about that. Good target man overall, but he also has 86 short passing, 93 shot power, 91 positioning, 88 finishing, and 90 dribbling as well. So he's a very kind of well-rounded forward, actually. And obviously, if he gets to, I don't know how Cameroon are going to do, probably not really going to get to the quarterfinals, but if they somehow manage it, then he'll have 5-star weak foot. If something truly mad happens and they get to the semi-finals, then it will get 5-star skills. So a 5-star 𝘂𝘂𝘀𝘀, as slim as the chances are, I feel like I'm going to be doing him just in case this card comes out as a sort
it's World Cup content. You kind of got to do
global football legend as well.
He'll be useful in, like, if icon swaps hit at any point, like that's a useful Bundesliga striker to have, no question.
Yeah, that's a good objective player. Anything else Path to Glory related, Josh, that you've spotted in and amongst this?
One thing I would say is on the screen before you get in, on the splash screen, it showed every Path to Glory player from Team 1 and Team 2, just after you were able to log in. But clearly there's only a certain number of them available. It's one of those things where I wonder if we'll get some extra releases as the tournament goes on, as teams get knocked out, and maybe they want to add a couple of, an extra player for each of the teams that makes it to the last 16, for example, and have already given them a bigger upgrade than the initial ones have, just as a way of kind of continuing the promo into the third and fourth week of the tournament. I was a big fan of the Path to Glories when they did them for the Euros, and these seem to be on a par.
Question here: we have all these like World Cup cards now that we're like collecting. Is there anywhere you can like see all of the ones that you have besides your club?
Yes, there's a tile, isn't there? Somewhere. They said there would be a tile.
I don't know if you can see in the tile.
Oh, here we go. There's a World Cup.
I don't know if you can see in the tile what you have. You can just see how many you have. I don't know if there's...
No. It tells you what level you're... There's like different levels. Yeah. 750 players needed?
Yeah, for the final thing. Although it seems like there's a little bit of a mess up in that it says you need to collect all 15 levels. But as far as I could see, there was only 10 levels. I'm seeing an awful lot of things just while we're kind of covering different bits. I'm seeing a lot of things on my timeline that the drop weight of the heroes is a bit broken. I'm seeing people just packing them pack after pack after pack at the moment. Like I've got 𝘵𝑚𝑝enthe's on one side of my screen at the moment, and he's packed 3 of them in the last 10 minutes just from like stored packs. So there may be a little bit of a reason why they're getting so cheap so quickly.
Podcast isn't coming out soon enough, Ben.
I mean, a lot of people are going to be opening packs right now as well. So the supply is going to be pretty crazy. And in fact, that's something to talk about, Josh. From a market perspective, I'd imagine that Friday night probably going to be the biggest supply that we'll see for quite some time, with the number of people that will have saved packs with nothing really going on.
Yeah, you would imagine so. What's interesting is I think a lot of the save packs right now don't really give tradable players. In terms of market effect, it will be packing players replacing the ones that they have tradable in their club. And with so many new versions of cards out, for example, the old heroes, I would expect them to dip because there's new versions of them, but especially because they have changed leagues and some of them have changed positions, maybe a possibility that they won't be as badly affected. I think if you want to complete SBCs, especially kind of icon SBCs or Messi's Player of the Month, for example, now is probably quite a good time to start having a look at that if you're going to have to buy a few players, because it's going to be a fairly cheap time to do it, relatively speaking.
Yeah, and then I guess we've talked about Path to Glory squad. We are going to talk more about content on Monday, supporter episode, so we won't dwell on things too much. We'll come back to them. We'll do things like pound for pound powerhouse.
Is this more fun than Weekend League?
The podcast? Or...
What I'm throwing out here is like all of this like World Cup and the objectives and all that sort of stuff. Like, would you rather play that at the moment than play FUT Champs? That's kind of where I'm leaning.
I don't like fiddly stuff, so probably not. But I can definitely see that a lot of people would prefer this. I don't know whether. So you think you'd rather play the kind of objective World Cup content? Maybe. Here's the question, Ben. If I spend all of my time working towards like collecting the swaps tokens and that sort of stuff, and say I get 𝘃𝑬𝑚𝑚 at the end of it, right? Is that not a better use of my time than playing
call it like 4 or 5 weekend leagues?
Probably say yes.
I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Richard, what do you think? I know you're someone who probably say, I would just want to play the competitive game. I don't really mind too much about the rewards, right? Or
Well, at the end of the day, it's all about how much time you've got, isn't it? Like, do you value your time? Like, where do you think your time is better suited? Because that Vieira will probably be better than anything you pack in Champs. But, I mean, I would have more enjoyment out of playing Champs, which might be a crazy statement to say. I think it's a good point to sort of to go on to where we will potentially go next with the rewards that are available, because, I mean, there's so many rewards that are there in order to get from the swaps as well. You mentioned Vieira. That item looks ridiculously good, but he's a big old grind. What is it, 40 tokens out of the 50?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you look at the token options, you got 40 tokens for Vieira. He's the most expensive. A World Cup icon player pick, which is a 1 of 3, and that's 35 tokens. Cafu is 30 tokens. And we should say Vieira is like just slightly under the prime in terms of visibility. And it's the same with Cafu. Cafu is a 30 token option. And then you've got a FIFA World Cup hero player pick, which is a 1 of 4 pick between those for 25 tokens. And then there's a 3 times 84 plus times 20 pack, which is actually 3 packs of 20 players, 84 and above, which is a lot of fodder.
Wow.
And that's 20 tokens. And then you've got the FIFA World Cup Path to Glory player pick for 20 tokens. And it's 1 of 5, actually, Path to Glory players. And the Path to Glory players is pretty good. So that's an interesting one too. And then you've got a load of players. You've got Fabinho, Koeman, Hazard, Mount, Ake, Morata, Brandt, Pereira, Correa, Christensen, Kostic, Kramaric, Guardado, Viña, Valencia, Shaqiri, El Haddadi, Brzezinski, Asano, Kiefer Moore, so many. Diatta, Adu. I mean, there are so many, and I'm sure people would need to look at the cards to see who they are anyway. And we'll probably talk about them in the future, because it's not like people are going to be necessarily redeeming straight away. But some of them look very, very good. They're all different, a lot of them are different token levels, so depending on their ability. And it's nice because I guess people can earn players from their nations. And actually, I think, Josh, you mentioned this on the pod, didn't you? This would be a nice idea.
Yeah, I like the fact that, you can choose a player from your nation if you want to get them. And there are some of those lower kind of valued ones in EA's eyes. I'm not, putting anything out there, but some of those lower valued ones, I love the look of that Kiefer Moore in terms of this lengthy meta. You look at his stats, he looks like he could be a right handful. And I just, with all of the different objectives that have been introduced that require you to score goals from every single nation, or for, go in and play in the friendly mode with players from a certain nation, the ability to go and get the best player from your nation is just such a good addition, and was something I really wanted to see, and something I hope they continue throughout the tournament. I hope it's not just one swaps player. I hope we get, something from each of the different countries, regardless of whether they're still in the competition or not, throughout the course of it. An SBC for each nation, I've already seen they've added Qatari players into the game now, and so if you pick Qatar as your first team, you can actually get Qatari players, and they're all 75 to 80 rated, and so everybody's been given this boost. So if we're doing that, let's just have a 90 rated Saudi Arabian player and a 90 rated Iranian player. Let's give the ability for people to really represent whatever country they want to represent within the game, and also just give us more. I don't want to keep going, give us more content, because there's too much to consume right now. But it does feel like I feel like they've got this so right. I worry about what it's going to do to the market through the game, through this World Cup mode. If you can pack players easily that are World Cup versions, you now don't need the gold version until January. But there are so many things that they have got right here. I think it would be a little bit finicky to kind of pick apart the effect on the market, because at the end of the day, that's us, isn't it, that dictates the market rather than necessarily solely EA.
Yeah, to some extent, I guess that is true. I guess in terms of the token system, it is good, and it'll be interesting to know how many people out there might grind for the Vieira, because Cafu maybe not so interesting in some ways. I don't know whether he's, I mean, yeah, it's just not Vieira, is it? It's 30 tokens, that's still a lot of tokens, whereas Vieira's 40 tokens, and the kind of player who could be a staple in your team almost throughout the cycle. But it's a big commitment. And I know, Richard, you've said before, you're not necessarily like someone who likes to grind their tokens. What do you think you'll do here? Do you think you'll go for Mason Mount or just try and go for the fodder packs? I know you like a fodder pack choice in the past.
I'll be honest. Usually I would say I'm not a big fan of the grind as such, but Patrick Vieira, by a 90 rated Patrick Vieira, that is, I mean, even in some of his stats, better than his prime. I think that was too good to not do and grind. Like, that's an item that is going to be end game almost. Like, it's a centre mid CDM centre back that's going to be viable for the rest of the game before Team of the Year, which is incredible, really. So I'm very, very tempted to swing for Vieira, depending if I can get all the tokens. If I find myself a little bit short, I'll probably just take the punt and go for a World Cup icon potentially, and try and roll the dice.
What do you think, Japes? Any particular ideas so far? I mean, you'll be on again, so I'm sure we'll talk about it in the future. But
not so much. I hear the debate with Vieira for me is like I very much want. He's. I mean, Richard's super right. He's endgame. Right? Like you could keep him through Team of the Year and probably be fine. That's just how Vieira cards always are in Ultimate Team. I sometimes find myself, when I get cards like that, though, being like, now I'm stuck using this guy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But as like a CDM, or CB, like he gives you a lot of positional flexibility that, maybe wouldn't have previously been that way. It's an insane card. Yeah. Think about EA giving us an icon like this pre-Christmas.
Yeah, it's kind of mad.
I do think it's interesting that I don't know how much of I don't know how obvious it is what to take here. However good that Vieira is, you have that thing of you're going to be stuck with him, but also I can't look past 60, 84 plus rated players for 20 tokens with all of those
Team of the Year around the corner.
Yeah. And you can get 80 because you can get the other one for 10 tokens. That's just the one version of it. And you could even get the 82 plus version and have that sat there as well. You could have 100 what are going to be usable fodder players and whatever good you pack out of them. I feel like another thing I feel like they've got right, which they didn't last year. I think last year it was tended to always be kind of obvious to take the packs unless there was an icon that you had some personal link to. This one, the icon at the end, the 40 icon is really good, and you can still get a decent fodder pack. You can still get the 84/20 if you go and get that Vieira. Even, I know people don't tend to see kind of wing backs as quite as sexy as box-to-box midfielders or 5-star attackers, but you get that Cafu, you don't need another wing back for the rest of the game cycle. So I think they've got this really right, because I don't think there's an obvious choice to make.
And also, I think we say Vieira, but you look at the Fabinho and you think, well, actually, chemistry-wise, he might be more useful than Vieira in a way, because he's got the Liverpool link as well as Brazil nation impact. I guess like that is nice. And as a card, he looks very, very good. I was looking at Koeman. I've really liked Koeman this cycle so far. He's got 5-star skills. His stats look, very boosted. So there are all sorts of options for people. And I was also looking at Danilo Pereira. He even may be better than Fabinho. He's 87 rated, obviously Portuguese, PSG, so it's another helpful player for chemistry. So I think it isn't as simple. And if you go for those, you can then go for the fodder packs as well. So I think there is a lot more kind of decision making to make than you might initially think. And also, obviously, if you go for something smaller, you can get that sooner and with less grinding, and it becomes useful straight away. So maybe not the simplest decision to make. Let's move on to talking about actually what you use to progress towards these swaps, which is these limited time versions. They have slight boosts. Some of them don't actually have a boost at all, seems to vary. But those items are the ones that are only available during the World Cup period. And to be honest, I've seen quite a bit of confusion about those. Obviously, people are aware, I think now they're limited time. They expire on the 4th of January. But obviously very much usable. In the meantime, you can use them in your squad. Maybe we'll talk about chemistry. But in terms of how to earn them, you got your starter pack, and that was capped at 84. But there are more opportunities to earn these various different ways. People weren't getting them in their saved packs, which I think made people suppose that maybe they weren't available. They are available as store packs. They're available potentially, and I guess in some SBCs, it seems, though maybe not tonight, but in the future, and really primarily through objectives, Josh.
It seems like they've pushed quite heavily towards earning them through gameplay, which is not a bad thing, and they're really easy to earn through gameplay. And it feels like they're going to try and drip feed it, unless you like spending FIFA points or coins on packs, in which case you can get a lot of them very quickly. There are some crazy packs in store right now. But I think the ability to go and get the foundations pack from every single nation, if you do look at that Qatar tab where, they're asking you to collect players to hit the different levels, you have to get 750 to hit that final level. And we all want to hit that final level, right? So it's kind of, it's quite a difficult balance, I think, to strike with. Do they give us too many options to get it? I feel like we're going to get some form of grindable SBC content within the next week to allow us to get these World Cup items. I don't know how many kind of traditional items we'll be able to get through that, but definitely a kind of swaps thing where you can put a duplicate player in and get a new player back, it seems we're getting a lot of player picks right now, especially in the packs. A lot of them are player picks, and I think that's because they want you to try and collect as many as possible. It's right now it seems to be mainly gameplay and objectives and stuff, unless you're spending FIFA points on packs.
Well, yeah, and you've got that tracker which shows how many World Cup limited time players you've earned over the course of this period, but actually the reward there isn't so significant as the one you get through tokens. And so it's the tokens people will be looking to earn through objectives that need to be completed with these World Cup limited time players. You can earn more of them through that milestones tab, but that's also where the swaps tokens are.
Yeah, so there's been, I think, 5 different milestones added that is specifically World Cup milestones. So again, they've grouped the 2 groups together that are next to each other. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And within each of those, there are 8 individual objectives in which all you have to do is score a goal in any FUT game mode using a player from that nation. So, if you want to go and play against the computer on amateur, you can get 16 nations done at a time. So 2 games and you'll have all of them done. And for each of those, you get an essentials pack. Now, I don't actually know what's in those essentials pack just yet. I would assume there's some World Cup players from the country that you've scored a goal with. And for completing each of those 4 objectives, you get an 80+ World Cup 3 players pack. And then we've got like the swaps week 1 pack, which you have to go into the FUT-friendly FIFA World Cup swaps, which doesn't require you, as far as I can see, it doesn't require you to use World Cup players. You can use any kind of players you want from outside of like the World Cup stuff, as long as they're from the nation that you need to use. So like the first one here is win 6 matches in Live FUT Friendly with at least 6 Qatari World Cup player items in your squad. So the other 5 can all be whatever you want, really. You obviously can't jump them both together because it's 6 and not 5. EA don't want us doing it too quickly. And so you need to win 6 matches. For each of those, you get swaps, but you also get an essentials pack, this time from the group that the team is in. And that's going to, again, give you more of these World Cup players. And the group reward for that is an 80+ World Cup 3 players pack. So there's an awful lot of gameplay friendlies that you can now go ahead and grind and get your swaps tokens, but also get a load of these World Cup items as well.
Yeah, your point about going into an amateur match with those one player from all those different nations and then scoring the goals is a really good way of quickly getting those starter packs for those nations, if you like. Problem is, with Qatar, they don't have any players in the game from Qatar apart from these World Cup versions. So your best bet there, I think, is to go do the Through Japan objective, and that should give you one because it's a Group A pack. But it's also worth mentioning in the Moments star gallery where you can redeem your stars, there is a Group A or B pack in there too. So you've got a chance of getting them in there, but it's a little bit awkward. Talking of moments though, I mean, the moments rewards have been seriously beefed up actually for this season. So
yeah, they've added 3 new places to earn stars, and I'm sure we'll get refreshes and updates of those. And the browse section still only has the 5k pack and 7.5k packs. However, you just get in here now, if I scroll to the end, so we've got an 85 plus player pick that's between 2, that's for 80 stars, which 80 stars is a lot to grind through on this mode, but an 85 plus, as you know, as long as you don't just get an 85, it's not too bad. 83 plus team of the week player pick item between 3 player picks from the first 7 weeks of the game is 70 stars. An 11 by 81 plus rare players pack for 65 stars. Rare players pack 65 stars. Small rare gold players pack for 33, and then you get into, I mean, they're still adding things in here that just blow my mind, like a premium nation tifos pack for 26 stars. Like anybody is going to care about that. Draft token pack, I think, is cheaper now. I think it's 20 instead of 24, and you can get 3 of those. But then you get into, they're giving you player picks. You can get like 81 plus player picks. There's a FIFA World Cup players pack. So for 15 items, you can get 1 FIFA World Cup player for 85 rating or higher. You know, you do have to bear in mind they are going to expire. So if you're spending your stars on them, they're going to be here for 2 months and then you're not going to have them anymore. So if, you know, might be worth prioritizing the things that are going to stay in your account. But, you know, you can get 10 World Cup players from their selection of groups. They seem to be grouping them A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, the 8 groups of the World Cup teams. And again, 1 pack, 10 stars each. You can go in and get those. I think it's better. I hope they continue to add to it. I hope there's more that's being given here. There's also a World Cup hero loan, 5-game loan, so for free. So if you just want to go and get a World Cup hero loan, go into the moments because you can get one for free there. But I like it. I like that they've added stuff. As I say, I hope there's more to come. I think it was a really underused mode in that first kind of season of the game. And, you know, the fact that Castle Wall remained there for the entire season might be one of the most infuriating things I've ever seen in a game. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say Castle Wall, I promise you, do not look at it. You will end up like it's where you've got to win the game, but you're not allowed to win the ball back. So you can never gain possession of the ball, but you have to wait 8 in-game minutes. And the computer is dumb. They will just pass it into you if you're stood in front of them and your player just instantly controls the ball and that's it, is over. Like some clearances you can get away with, but if the bar goes up for the clearance, no, that was you controlling the ball. It's one of the most ludicrous things that's ever been in any game, and I'm so glad not too many people know about it. So I hope I've convinced you not to go and search it out.
Oh yeah, I need some kind of trigger warning for that. I'm gonna have to bleep it out or something. Sounds awful. But anyway, actually, before we wrap up on limited time players, you've actually got use of these for a decent period. They're not going to disappear too soon. And at this point in the cycle, some of them can be very handy, and it'd be worth just mentioning how they work in terms of chemistry, which can be a huge benefit actually if you've got 2 of these players from the same nation. Josh, I believe they do get 2 chem points straight away, which is really nice.
Yeah, so the way it kind of looks visually is they contribute 1 to the nation, so in this case, France, but their club is the French crest. And so they still count as, it's still separate to the French. It's not like you've got 4 French players. It's 2 players from France and 2 players from the French national team. That would be kind of the way I would look at it. But there's also a World Cup league. So every World Cup player will contribute to that by the looks of it. So if you get 2 players from the same nation and then put another World Cup player in, those 2 players from the same nation will have full chemistry. Yeah,
it's not particularly useful if you're trying to get just one of these limited time World Cup items in, because you can only get them chemistry through nations, so you'd need like pretty much whole squad to be that nation to get them chemistry. But if you've got 2 of the same nation, they're going to get 2 chemistry points. And actually, if you also, a combination which will work quite well is if you have 2 players from one nation, 2 players from another nation, they'll all get full chem. So it can be quite helpful. It's also good because although they expire January the 4th, you kind of think, how many of these players are you actually going to be using, considering the power curve special items we're going to get? by that point anyway. You can almost just consider them like slightly upgraded gold versions, most of these, and kind of happy days. The only thing is that's kind of a negative is they can't be submitted into SBCs, but they do have all these various uses already, and it'll be interesting to see how best to utilize these, the tokens, etc. There's lots to discuss, and I'd be interested to hear from listeners about all of this. So do get in touch all the usual ways at FUT Weekly Pod, futweekly@mail.com, via the Discord, pod priority questions in that supporter Discord. And of course, we'll be back on Monday with a content episode for supporters. Next week, the gameplay pod will be out on the main feed, and it's a content pod on the supporter feed. If you would like to send in your questions for that, please do. And if you'd like to get that, you're not yet a supporter, then it's just £3 a month to support the pod. Keep it going and you get double the podcast content every week, that extra episode. You can do that by following the link in the description of this podcast, or going to bit.ly/morepod, or just searching support for weekly. And if you are already supporting, then a huge thank you for making these podcasts possible. I should also say a big thank you to Josh, who's very much been across this for us. Thank you.
No, that's absolutely fine. Christmas has come slightly early, is what it feels like. So no, it's been a pleasure trying to work it all out with everyone. I've got a hero pack to finish it off if we want to.
Oh, you found it.
We want to bookend it.
Great. Yeah. So let's do that.
All right, I'm opening up now. Okay, interesting.
James, do you want to go first? Who do you think it is? Just as
let's see. Interesting. I'm going to give him Papa.
I'd have taken that, but it's not.
I feel like that means it's worse than that. So
it's 𝘃𝗲𝗃𝘀.
I was thinking someone like 𝘃𝗃𝗃𝘀, or maybe Park, possibly.
No, I'd have loved Park. I'd have been much more excited.
Park's regular hero card is like really, really quite good. By the way,
really good. Yeah, it's like a 𝘃𝗃𝗃𝘀 that can shoot. Really, Richard, guess for.
I'm gonna go 𝘵𝘃𝗲𝗃𝘀.
Would be amazing.
Who is it?
Nice. It was someone I guessed earlier. It's Rafa Marquez.
Okay.
I'll take that. He's going to be an interesting player to test out. And heroes just have good chem this year. So yeah, I'll absolutely take that.
Oh, actually, just very quickly before we all go, a quick whip round. Who do you think is going to win the World Cup? We haven't asked. Richard.
England. Next question.
It's coming out. Josh, any advance on England? Or if you're going to go England, go for someone who isn't England just for.
Okay, I'm going to go outside bet. I'm going to go the redemption arc. I'm going to go Denmark. I'm going to go Christian Eriksen winning it for Denmark after what happened at the Euros 2 years later. That would be. It'd warm the cockles of my heart.
That is, that's left field, but I like that. James, what about you?
Let's go with Netherlands.
I feel pressured to do something left field now, but
yeah, I felt left field.
You can go Argentina.
I feel like actually, if we're going to go left field, Serbia with Mitrovic and Vlahovic, if they are both going, I think they are. I don't know whether they'll both play, but Kostic whipping it in, Milinkovic, Savic picking up the pieces. I think they have an outside chance, and their draw, I think if they finish second in the group, actually looks decent. So you never know. I would say for me, Brazil, I'm a bit biased, but I think Brazil will win, and they will do that because they have more leadership. They're better set up than they have been previously. They're not so dependent on Neymar, and he himself is having a very good season. I would like Messi to win a World Cup, of course, but I'd also like to see Fred do it. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens with World Cup content over the next few days when we're back for a supporter content episode on Monday and the gameplay pod, of course, later in the week. So thank you very much to Richard Buckley for coming back on the pod. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can follow me on social medias at @𝑟Buckley98, and you can also see my face on EA Sports channels every Monday, 6 p.m, to see the best FIFA players in the world play.
And you're running a FIFA tournament on Wednesday, which is worth pointing out. People should tune into that.
We are indeed on Mr. Brandon Smith's Twitch channel, 𝗵𝗡𝗆 Esports, mine and Brandon's own tournament that we're running. Someone who's going to win $1,000. We've got 16 of the best European FIFA players all playing, and looking forward to it.
Nice, yeah, looking forward to it too. And we have had as well, Japes, thank you very much for coming on the pod. And sorry, our luck was slightly better than yours.
Yeah, you're not sorry about that at all. Then, but, you know, I'm looking forward to competing in Richard's tournament, being one of the best
top NA player
in the world. Yeah. No, but a pleasure. I think this is like, if you're a fan of FIFA and a fan of, you know, the sport of football or soccer, depending where you're from, this is like a great time of year. So pretty exciting.
Indeed, and an especially big thank you to Josh for filling us in about so much of the content that's out at the moment. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
And if people want more of that kind of thing, then where can people find you?
Spreadsheet FIFA, everywhere. I might have Josh in my name, but if you search Spreadsheet FIFA, I should pop up.
Perfect. And I should have said, actually, a big thanks to all these guests for turning up at an unusual time, just after 6 p.m. content drop. Really appreciate that. And if you've tuned in at an unusual time, appreciate that too. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. It's been great to cover the content as it dropped. Do catch the future podcasts, and you can get those by subscribing via all the usual podcast platforms and also on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to leave a like and, of course, subscribe. And to those supporters, keeping the podcast going, a big thank you for doing so, and a huge thank you to those icon patrons: Dave B, 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘦, Coach 𝘵𝑎𝑠, DJ FIFA Player, Alan G, Alistair, Anthony R, Dominic P, Rob P, Jeff B, Stephen F, Tom B, Damon H, David S, Nick Jack M, Eric T, Neil P, Adam G, Elliot M, Dan W, at Pace of a Tortoise, Roger D, Jake G, Springford, Nishant, Harry P, Alex M, Lee A, Brendan W, Andrew C, Joe W, Timothy J, Dylan, Adam R, Sam K, Graham W, Andy, Ads H2K, and Brian V. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘦, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. FIFA's a bit like life really. It has its many ups and its many downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to 𝘃𝗲𝗏𝑧one.net, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to 𝘃𝗲𝗏𝑧one.net. And for now, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next podcast.